Right now, this is our time in the studio with Carolina Coral. I welcome the viewers of Freedom. Let's move on to the news. While on duty at one of Ukrsaliznitsia's infrastructure facilities, an armed security guard was killed. According to the head of the company, Alexander Pertskovsky, the man became a victim of a Russian drone strike. There was a shelter at the facility, but the explosion caught the man just a few steps away from it. The employee left the shelter and didn't have time to return to a safe place. Pertskovsky noted that all the circumstances of the incident will be thoroughly investigated to prevent such tragedies in the future. A 47-year-old man was killed in the Dnipropetrovsk region as a result of a Russian drone strike. This was reported by the local military administration. Infrastructure was damaged in the Sinelnikov district. Pavlorad also came under fire. Fires were recorded there, and private businesses and vehicles were damaged. The aggressor also used artillery in the Nikopol district and in Pivdedrin. The district center and the Pokrovska community were hit. A private house caught fire. Air defenders destroyed targets in the Dnipropetrovsk region. 8 drones were shot down, according to the Air Force Command. 5 people were injured, 4 of whom were hospitalized. The Russian army attacked Kharkiv with strike drones. 3 explosions were heard in the city. Invaders targeted the old residential area in the city center. Private and apartment buildings also came under drone attack. Cars were damaged, and a warehouse belonging to a transport company was almost completely destroyed. For more details on the aftermath of this attack by Russian occupiers, see the report by Natalia Belakudry.
The morning in Kharkiv began with an attack by Russian strike drones. According to preliminary data, the Russians launched 3 Garand 2 type drones. They struck the central district of the city. A fire broke out at the site of the attack.
There was a hit on an industrial enterprise that has absolutely no connection to the military. In addition, 20 residential buildings were affected. Among them are 5 private homes and 15 apartment buildings.
Andrei, a truck driver, transports mail. He says he was supposed to head out on a run that evening. The Russians struck a transportation company. Now the trip is postponed, since the vehicle is damaged. He managed to hide in time, and only because of that he wasn't hurt.
There was a buzzing. Something flew in really loud, and then it exploded. I didn't see it explode. I just heard the explosions. The guys all ran to the shelter, and I ran with them. So that's what happened there. No one was hurt. Only the vehicles got a little damaged. Yes.
Since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion, this transportation company has been attacked by the Russians more than once. In the summer, Shahids also hit here. But today's strike was much more powerful than the previous ones. There's almost nothing left of the parcel warehouse. People were saved because they managed to get to the shelter in time.
We have no casualties here. I mean, no physical injuries. The warehouse was destroyed. The warehouse contained cargo that our clients had entrusted to us for transport. It's hard to assess the scale of the damage right now. So, everything will have to be counted.
Residential buildings nearby were also damaged by the attack. Their windows were blown out. All emergency services are working at the site of the strike. The cleanup of the aftermath is ongoing. Natalia Belakudria, Andrei Dalmovoy from Kharkiv for Freedom TV channel.
Last night, Russia launched 121 attack drones at Ukraine. This was reported by the Air Force of Ukraine. The attack was repelled by aviation, anti-aircraft missile troops, electronic warfare units, and mobile fire groups of Ukraine's defense forces. According to preliminary data, 90 enemy drones were shot down or suppressed. There were 31 drone strikes recorded at 19 locations, as well as the fall of debris from downed drones at one of the sites. In addition, more than 150 Russian drones have been destroyed by Ukrainian interceptor drones since the beginning of the month. This was reported by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. He noted that almost every night, Ukraine's air defenders repel Russian attacks. Together with electronic warfare units, army aviation, and mobile fire groups, the results of the drone interceptors are improving significantly. There will be even more to come, the president emphasized. We will definitely continue to develop interceptor drone technology and train crews. The Ministry of Defense is contracting all available interceptor production capacity. We are working on closer cooperation with our partners. Joint production and financing allow us to scale this up faster. Thank you to everyone who is advancing this field. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, on Telegram. Russian troops are urgently redeploying reinforcements to the Pokrovsk direction. This was reported by the partisan movement Atesh. According to agents, military equipment with personnel is being sent toward Pokrovsk every day. The soldiers are most likely being withdrawn from the Kherson and Zaporizhia directions. Atesh agents report that the Russian army has exhausted its main forces and operational reserves. Because of this, the occupiers are simply forced to weaken other sections of the front. It is also noted that new soldiers arrive at their positions almost without any paperwork and are immediately sent into assaults. Ukrainian forces thwarted an attempt by the Russian army to break through to Kostiantynivka. This was reported by the 28th Separate Mechanized Brigade, named after the Knights of the Winter Campaign. According to the military, the enemy is trying to take advantage of the thick fog to advance toward the city unnoticed. Ukrainian intelligence detected the movement in time, after which they opened targeted fire. As a result, the breakthrough attempt was thwarted. Russian units suffered significant losses in personnel and equipment. Some of the Russian occupiers retreated, while the rest remained on the battlefield. There were 217 combat engagements recorded on the front over the past day, 17 in the southern Slobozansky direction, 18 in the Kupiansk direction. In the most intense Pokrovsk direction, Ukrainian defenders stopped 76 enemy offensive actions. The aggressor carried out strikes on the areas of Lazova in the Kharkiv region, Malomykhailivka in the Dnipropetrovsk region, and Zeleny High in the Zaporizhia region. In response, the Ukrainian army struck several important enemy targets, including troop concentration areas, drone depots, and command posts. Another 1,000 Russian occupiers were eliminated by Ukraine's defense forces just in the past day. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the total combat losses of the Russian army at the front since the start of the full-scale invasion have already exceeded 1,154,000 personnel. In addition, Ukrainian fighters destroyed 3 armored vehicles, 13 artillery systems, 1 multiple rocket launcher, and 1 air defense system. They also destroyed 88 units of enemy automotive and special equipment. Russia is using drones to terrorize the civilian population of Ukraine. This conclusion was reached by the independent UN International Commission investigating events in Ukraine. Such tactics by the Russians have forced thousands of Ukrainians to leave their homes. Experts note that this constitutes a crime against humanity. Both FPV drones and attack drones are being used against the civilian population. Find out who becomes the targets and victims of the Russian Federation in our report.
The house burned down completely. Absolutely nothing is left. The cars burned down.
Anna and her employees came under Russian attack on November 3rd. At that time, the Russian army launched a missile and a drone at the village of Mykolaiv. At that moment, the woman was near her store. She had just taken her saleswoman outside for some tea. That's when the first explosion went off.
At first, I didn't understand what had happened with that strike. It was like my head was ringing so much, I couldn't understand what was happening. And I just sat there.
After the missile strike on Mykolaiv, drones also hit. 8 people were injured then. Among them, a 5-year-old girl was seriously wounded. And her grandmother was killed. Andriy is the director of the primary health care center in Lyman, Donetsk region. The nurse and I were driving from one clinic to another with medicine for patients. But the medic's car became the target of a Russian drone.
Yes, right on the road. It hit the hood, literally at arm's length from me. There was an impact. It was a white duster with all the medical identification signs. And then, out of nowhere. But later, the police guys said they found a piece of fiber optic cable, so most likely he was hiding in an ambush somewhere. Rain, the so-called house. As soon as I showed up, he immediately...
Yuri was a combat medic for several years, but after being wounded, he returned to work at a civilian hospital. On the evening of November 7th, when Russian forces launched a massive combined attack on the Dnipropetrovsk region, he was visiting friends outside the city. That was when a Russian drone crashed in the neighboring yard. Yuri went into the house to help people. He heard the hum of another drone, and then there was an explosion right away.
A piece of the ceiling slab pinned me down. It fell down. It pinned me to the stairs, just like that, and I got stuck. Well, that's basically it. I don't remember much, because I was stunned.
On the morning of October 23rd, a Russian Lancet-attacked drone targeted the car of the Freedom TV channel's film crew. The journalists were documenting the aftermath of a gas station shelling that had happened the day before. The explosion went off right next to their car. Journalist Alyona Grimova and cameraman Yevhen Karmazin were killed. Freedom's special correspondent, Alexander Kolochev, was seriously wounded.
It happened very quickly, almost without a sound. In the last split second, I heard something, but I caught myself feeling like I was flying away somewhere.
On November 6th, Russian terrorists struck a busy highway in Sumy with a drone. As a result of the attack, a car was damaged, but people miraculously were not hurt. And now this is Kostyantynivka in the Kharkiv region. On November 3rd, Russian war criminals attacked peaceful elderly people with FPV drones as they walked down the road carrying a white flag. As a result of this targeted attack, 2 unarmed people and a dog were killed. There were no military facilities or positions nearby. The Russian Federation is using drones to target civilians living near the front line in Ukraine, according to representatives of the United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine.
Documented cases of attacks, according to the commission, indicate that units of the Russian armed forces deliberately struck civilians and civilian infrastructure from the left bank of the Dnipro River. They acted under centralized command and used similar tactics. Regular attacks by Russian armed forces on frontline areas have resulted in civilian deaths and injuries, large-scale destruction, and have forced thousands of people to flee. These drone attacks constitute crimes against humanity in the form of killings and forced displacement of the population. From the report of the Independent Commission on Ukraine at the UN General Assembly session.
In the first 8 months of 2025, the number of civilian casualties in Ukraine increased by 40%, compared to the same period in 2024, according to the UN. Specifically, the number of deaths rose by 17%, and the number of injured by 46%. Natalia Huss, Stanislav Academy, for Freedom TV channel.
We will discuss the next topic in detail. Russian forces continue to strike at Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Just in the past day, the enemy attacked facilities in several regions. This was reported by Ukrenergo. About 27,000 customers in 3 regions remain without power: Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, and Zaporizhia. Emergency repair work is underway everywhere that the security situation allows. Energy workers are doing everything possible, of course, to restore the damaged equipment as quickly as possible. And also, due to previous massive Russian missile and drone attacks, electricity consumption is restricted in most regions of Ukraine. In response to Russian strikes on infrastructure, Berlin will allocate an additional 40 million euros in winter aid for Ukraine. This was announced by German Foreign Minister Johann Wadefull. According to him, the funds will go toward humanitarian needs, including repairing heating systems, restoring damaged housing, as well as supplying generators and essential items such as blankets and hygiene products.
We are helping to keep homes warm and lit, and ensuring that Russia does not achieve its goal of breaking the spirit of those defending the country with its targeted terrorist attacks on civilian gas and heating systems. Johann Waidfuhl, German Foreign Minister.
United Kingdom will allocate more than $17 million for repair work in Ukraine's energy sector. This was stated in a message from the British government. It also mentions the redistribution of humanitarian aid to those most affected by the lack of electricity, heating, and water. In addition, the United Kingdom has announced plans to ban companies from servicing and insuring maritime vessels that transport liquefied natural gas from Russia. This is a consequence of the recent sanctions against Russia's two largest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil. Further support for Ukraine will also be discussed at today's meeting of the foreign ministers of the group of 7 countries. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha will also be present at the meeting. According to his Canadian counterpart Amita Anand, topics for discussion will include, in particular, mineral resources and economic security issues. They will also focus on stability in the Middle East and the development of the Indo-Pacific region. We
will begin our meeting together with Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha. We want to once again reaffirm our collective support for Kyiv in the face of Russian aggression. Then all our partners will join us to discuss issues related to critical minerals, energy security, and economic resilience. Global partnerships are necessary to solve global problems. The challenges we face go beyond the G7 and our own borders.
Subscribe to The Gaze and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.